Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Tooele Happy Hour. This one's kind of serious. We're talking about cancer. We're being joined tonight with Katie and Stacey. They're taking it upon themselves to work on this project, American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. And they're going to tell us about their struggle, their fight, and what they're doing to help save the world from this evil bugger we call cancer that seems to get too many of us in the end. Katie, Stacey, please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us about what's going on.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thanks for having us. I work at the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network as the Utah Grassroots Manager, and Katie is one of my new but amazing volunteers who has just hit the ground running and done some amazing work so far. And we're talking cancer detection, cancer prevention, and she's the one that really has the story on that. So I'll let her give a little bit of her background.
Yeah, so I'm Katie. I have been on this podcast before.
Yes, you have.
Yes.
You were, I think, our very first show. Is that correct?
No, she wasn't. She was our very first, one of our very first Democrats on the show.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah. So day turn as a Democrat. I'm the chair of the Democratic county, Utah County, and then also the chair of county chairs for the state party. But for me, this is something very different than what I'm typically used to doing. Because the Cancer Action Network is really dedicated to advancing legislation that benefits people who have had cancer or other means have been affected. And for me, with the early detection is really key. I'm BRCA positive. So basically what that means is my genes do not have the ability to fight cancer cells very well.
Oh.
So so I'm at a higher risk for breast cancer, pancreatic, ovarian, skin, there's a few. So I am a genetic misfit. It's okay though. And when I was, I didn't know I was BRCA positive until my aunt got cancer a second time. And my mom, who had breast cancer, she took the test when she went the genetic testing and she was negative. However, when my aunt got it the second time under the age of 50, the doctors were going, something's going on here. And so my mom got her to test and we found out she was positive, and then my dad, and then myself. So I found out I was positive at 20, which was really, really hard. And especially it came from my dad's biological father's side of the family. And I didn't know him. I didn't know his family, nothing about this man. And when we started researching his family, I had an aunt on that side of the family that died at 32 from what we would assume started out as ovarian cancer by the time she had passed away. And she had a 6-year-old. So I didn't want that to be me. But at 20, you're just like, okay, I had just moved out here. I started my life, newly married. And by 22 though, I started getting lumps. And because of my mom having breast cancer and then my genetic status, there was a lot of concerns of, the prerequisite of pre-cancer. And so I had a double mastectomy at 22. There's many things within the world of having a double mastectomy, especially at 22, no one tells you. I didn't have anyone really that I knew who was my age getting a double mastectomy. And so
that's heavy. That's very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a 2-year process because I ended up getting staph. And,
oh man.
Yeah. And so by the end of it all, because of the staph, they would have to go in and on my left side is where I had it. They were removing muscle. I have a crater still in my chest because of it, you know, and I'm 29 right now, and there's nothing really that I can do at this moment. But, you know,
You're so young at 22. That's got to be, I mean, that's got to be the heaviest thing at 22 to go through that. And then till you're 25, have this ongoing, I just can't imagine.
Yeah, and I was, once again, newly married.
Yeah.
My husband and I both were just, you know, we joke because we would see couples fight over the stupidest of shit. And we were just like trying to survive one more day.
Literally. Yeah. Oh, man.
And the power of early detection is like, I was already having problems at 22. I don't know. And I don't have a crystal ball, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know when it would have gotten bad enough that I would be going through chemo and radiation. Luckily, it was early on enough that I didn't have to do those things. But I can't imagine, because when you have the BRCA gene in particular, you're more likely to be triple negative, which is one of the worst of the worst. It runs so rampant through your body because the cancer is basically fed via hormones.
Katie, how does somebody go about to test whether or not they have this tendency in their genes to be susceptible to this type of cancers?
Yeah, so I went through a genetic counselor, and I went to her. It was down at Intermountain down in Provo, and I remember meeting this girl, and I was 20, and she had to be about my age. And she was like, "You're not going to be positive at all. You're not, it's not likely." And I told her right then and there, I said, "I'm going to be positive. I can feel it in my bones that this is what it's going to be." And she was like, "No." She's like, I'll just call you and just tell you it's negative." She called me a couple weeks later and said, "I need you to come to the office." And then that's when I knew, because that's like the joke within the cancer community is like, as soon as they want you to go to the office to see them, that's when you know it's bad.
It's like going to the principal's office, right?
Right.
Oh, man.
So yeah, early detection is huge because, I would imagine here at 35, I have to get my ovaries removed next. So much fun.
So this means that anytime there's a cancer present, it definitely takes hold inside of you, and you don't have an ability to fight it off. Is that what it is?
Not as well or at all sometimes. Yeah, it just depends.
Because I've known people who got cancer and did not go to the doctor and it went away. It's like almost a magical experience. Some might call it divine, but truth is some bodies are more able to fight cancer than others. And Katie, what would you say to somebody who says these genetic tests are voodoo or witchcraft? Have you ever experienced someone telling you that kind of stuff?
The worst I've ever had was someone selling an MLM product telling me that their pill that was like, I think the bottle was like $60 a month, could fix my DNA. And never have I ever wanted to get more violent than that exact moment because I was so mad. Oh no. Because I was like, no, this pill is not going to change my DNA.
All your genes need is a supplement, Katie.
Yes.
That's all you're missing.
Right.
How magical is it going to be when we finally unlock that code?
And we've started to kind of.
Yeah, we've started to.
Part of the bill that we're actually sponsoring at this event that we're having Sunday is kind of trying to get the government funding side prepared for when the science is ready. Because there is science in the works right now where you could do a blood test and detect multiple types of cancer. There's things that are going through that FDA process right now. But if they get approved and Medicare isn't going to pay for them, the VA isn't going to pay for it, if insurance companies aren't going to cover this stuff once it's ready, it's pointless, right? None of us can access it if it's not paid for. So this bill is called the Multi-Cancer Early Detection Screening Act. MCED is what we call it for short. But basically it's saying when the FDA approves these things, we want Medicare to pay for them.
Now, is this for a screening?
Exactly. So
this is for a screening
test. So they're not ready yet. You know, they're in the FDA, they're in the scientific process, but there's technology in the works that's a whole new era of detecting cancer where maybe it wouldn't get to the point where you need a mastectomy. Maybe we're finding these things so much sooner. You know, maybe in Katie's case, this wouldn't have been preventable, you know, but there's others that you detect this early enough and you require such minimal treatment compared to when you catch things late and it's spread and it's too late. So, I mean, we're talking about like magic and voodoo, but that's almost what it feels like. We're on the brink of there with this science.
And we know quite well that they aren't, like even today with the pre-screening, it is very difficult to get things covered. My sister is BRCA positive too, as well. And for her pre-screening, she has to get, so when you're young, you can't get a mammogram. The tissue is too thick. Well, they won't pay for it and the tissue's too thick.
Oh, okay, that too.
So you have to go get this MRI. And every year you have to do this when you're BRCA positive. My sister fights for this MRI to be covered every single year. And she's 27 now. And so we're getting roughly about the age that most of our family members have gotten cancer of some sort. And, you know, it shouldn't be this hard to get these tests when it's very clear as day we have this genetic disorder.
How much do these tests cost?
Well, an MRI, I think hers is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a pop.
Okay. Wow. I wonder how much it costs.
Cancer treatment.
Yeah.
You know, once you get the disease, it's so much more expensive to treat it late. You know, I've been a lobbyist in the past on, you know, health policy issues, and we're always trying to make that fiscal case, right? Like we want the best bang for our buck. And like, this is the best you can find. If we're detecting, you know, multiple cancers super early, that's going to save governments, insurance companies, individuals so much money in the long run.
Even if they came up with a cheaper all-around test, say a blood sample test where they gave you a test to see if cancer is present in your body. And then from there, they can focus in on more, you know, according to your age group, you know, your sex, your age group, your lifestyle. We're going to start looking here, you know. An old cowboy, you're going to start looking in his throat for Copenhagen cancer, you know. A 70-year-old man, you're going to start looking at his prostate, you know. And then you're going to
farther than that, we have technology that's, you know, biomarker testing where we can literally look at somebody's genome and kind of your specific cancer is going to respond the best to this type of treatment. We can find the science is way beyond my understanding, but it's kind of what you're talking about, you know, finding those individual lifestyle factors, but it's digging deeper than that and finding those answers in our DNA and in our, you know, in the genetics of the tumors that they find. They can unlock the treatment through those. And these are just all right on the horizon. And we need insurance companies, government, we need people to be able to afford them when they're ready. So
my concern is that whenever we have the government dabble in insurance, it becomes more expensive and less attainable. Every time. The Obamacare didn't make insurance more available, just made it so that everyone had crappier insurance and it was more expensive. I remember the month at work where the insurance company came out and said, you've got to re-sign up. You know, I'd been there for 8 years. And they came and said, you got to re-sign up because Obamacare changed the frame. Okay, I re-sign up. And it was 3 times as much and covered less. Because the government is a cancer, honestly. that they come in and they ruin they turn gold into poop.
I mean, it can, absolutely. I worked in Obamacare advocacy. I was uninsured when Obamacare rolled out and fell into what they call the coverage gap, where I couldn't get on Medicaid, I couldn't get on Obamacare. I was literally just stuck with nothing. And so, absolutely, like, the government is not a perfect solution. You know, I don't think philanthropy is a perfect solution. I don't think nonprofits are going to save the world either. You know, I think that we need that combination of, the fact is currently Medicare, it is the provider for older folks, right? And the fact is older folks are the ones that are getting cancer more. So if that is their insurance provider, they've got to cover this test. I mean, we can talk about reforming the Medicare system. I am down for that. But as long as this is the system we have, they've got to give us access to these screenings and things like that. So
I agree.
You know, that's where this specific piece of legislation is super bipartisan, you know, super supported across the aisle, because it just makes sense that we're going to save a ton of money. We're going to save lives if we find it earlier.
Is there a lack of MRI stations? Is that why it costs so much?
Yeah, that's something that'd be nice to dig into. Why do these medical procedures have so much overhead?
Well, I think it's with most, like, to give you an idea, through my double mastectomy, staph, reconstruction that I half kind of did, it was $1.2 million.
That you half kind of did?
Yeah, I didn't finish reconstruction.
You gave up. You said, "I'm done. I am done."
I said, I don't want.
You said, honey,
You had enough surgery.
you get what you get. Deal with it. I'm not.
The crater is staying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Over the last couple of years, I started my own business. So I've moved into that uninsured bracket.
Oh, no.
I work. Oh, no, it's fine. But I will tell you right now, the at-site costs are cheaper for uninsured.
It can be. Isn't that wild?
Everything I've done, including this little unspeakable cancer test that's in the mail right now to my house because of my age. And I don't think we need to talk about my upcoming fun time I'm going to have. But including that is cheaper because I'm uninsured. Because I think when they deal with insurance, they charge more because they can.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the middleman, things get marked up. When I was uninsured, I found way easier, like going to the emergency room then was way easier for me than it is now. Now I have to walk in and pay like $1,500 at the door to go to the emergency room. When I was uninsured, they let me in, they helped me, but they kicked me out the second they could and did diagnostics. I was very, very sick and didn't know what was wrong with me. And the emergency room does not do diagnostics. Their job is not trying to figure out your chronic health conditions. Their job is to, like, make sure you're not dead and boot you out the door.
Well, yeah, their diagnostics is with the little triangle hammer. That's their diagnostics, you know.
ABC, airway, blood circulation.
No, I get that.
Password that everybody's falling through the cracks in some way or another. If you have insurance, it's crazy expensive. If you don't have insurance, you're out of luck. So we definitely have our work cut out for us on this. Absolutely.
I'm not 100% opposed to like a government insurance plan. But the only opposition I have to it is I know that it would be a corrupt, embezzling nightmare like every other government plan is. And that's what I worry about, is that we would end up being like England, where our government revolves around funding this one plan. Kind of like our government does now with defense, except we can't add another thing on top of that. So I guess my only argument is we got to fix government and then we can have it. And then also,
we gotta just healthcare is not complicated, right? We can just fix government healthcare, easy peasy.
We can just fix government.
Now, another thing they don't talk about in our healthcare system is how much cheaper that the regular standard care is overseas. Because I've dealt with surgeries overseas out of pocket, and I'm much more satisfied doing it that way than trying to work through our insurance.
Yeah, there's a huge market. People go to Tijuana to get services done. There was a guy in my hometown. They actually made a documentary about him called Pigweed Philosopher. He was broke, literally almost homeless. Ended up being homeless, but he would go to Mexico once a year to get his dental work done because he could afford that. And what's holding us back from why does Mexico have better, more affordable service than we have? Why Mexico, the place that, when you say it aloud, you picture like a dog on top of a roof and a kid that only has one shoe. But their medical system works better than ours. Why is that?
For standard care. Now, the state-of-the-art stuff is definitely the United States of America. But if I'm going to get breast implants, for example, I'm going to probably go outside of the country and do that because, but
South Korea.
South Korea, yeah.
South Korea is the world's capital of plastic surgery.
Right. I thought it was Brazil.
South Korea has been and is going to be because South Koreans like to do some stuff to their body. But anyways, let's get back to this cancer thing. What do we got going on? We sidetracked you, and we need to talk about you're getting the government prepared for what's coming down. What do you have to do? What do you need from listeners? What can we do to help?
Well, our ask is actually kind of a fun one this time. We are having a birthday party on Sunday morning in front of the federal building, which is where the offices of Senator Lee and Senator Romney are. It is the 58th birthday of the Medicare program. So this bill is targeting Medicare. We're trying to get Medicare to fund this. I figured we'd take advantage of the occasion and throw a little party. So we're going to have cake and balloons and yard games and things. And the public can stop by, and we've got a big banner they can sign, have a piece of cake, play a game, bring the kids, bring the dogs. It's in the morning, so I'm hoping it won't be too hot yet. And we're going to, advocate. I'm going to follow up, next week after the party and deliver our big banner and things to Senator Romney and Senator Lee. And we'll, pass along our message from folks. But
have people sign the banner. Get 1,000, a million names on the banner.
A million. I mean, that you're very optimistic with my attendance at this event. I like.
Okay, 2 million it is. So
you're going to need a permit for this one.
All right.
Yes, you're right.
So you getting someone to jump out of the cake, going to get like a clown or something? That'd be funny. That'd be
I
fun.
thot that was your job.
I will gladly jump out of your cake. Good news is I don't
dress them up like Bigfoot.
I would love that. No, and the other thing is that donations are really key because we are going to Washington, D.C. in September. So that just helps pay the way to do that, which is really great because, bringing people's stories, especially to Washington, D.C. is pivotal. Because if I told my story, and my story isn't much compared to a survivor or so forth, but to have that kind of story that really resonates and they can go, wow, that's a human being that's lived this. It kind of changes the mood.
It's heartbreaking.
Have you reached out to Delta Airlines for those flight tickets, Katie? Because I know Delta Airlines, when I worked there, they supported all sorts of cancer foundations, and they really made a big deal about it. And it is a big deal, and I'm willing to bet that the CEO would probably like to sponsor something like that.
They are a good partner of ours. They just hosted a relay in their concourse here at the Salt Lake City Airport and raised money for us. So they are a great partner.
Excellent.
Good. Yeah. So this Sunday. So that's Sunday the what? First.
the 30th,
The
July
30th. Look at
We're
me.
starting at 9 a.m. We'll go
9
9
a.m.
to 11. It's the federal building. It's right on like First South and State Street.
Yeah, it's the federal courthouse, isn't it?
It's not. It's a different one. It's the Wallace F. Bennett Federal Building, but you can park at the Harmons. If you know where the Harmons is downtown, you can park at the Harmons, and we're literally right there. You'll see our balloons and stuff, and come and have cake and support cancer prevention.
Yeah, even if you can just stop in and sign that banner. Seriously, because that's how, you know what, lobbyists aren't bad, and that's how you get these lobbyists known, is you send them there with a lot of names. You've got to send them there that says this many people, this matters to them. This is your constituents who care. And sometimes it sounds gross, but it's just a fact. You have to break through that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's where we're making it really visual too, because I've learned over the years as a lobbyist that if you hand them one little piece of paper, it gets lost in a stack. So that's why we're doing the great big banner. We've got a bunch of kiddos that have written birthday cards for us, and I've got those up on the banner. So it'll be a fun, it'll catch their eye when we bring it into the senator's office.
Good. I think that's an amazing idea. That's top notch, Stacey. It's a smart idea.
Yes, it is. It is. So, we got a couple of comments. Changed hospice cares where uninsured gets a huge discount. And I think that's simply because it might be cheaper for the deliverer of medical care to not deal with insurance, just to deal with one-to-one, less overhead.
It might be a write-off too, because that's what Intermountain does.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that they should do it
off.
Oh, and still get paid.
And money in the hand now.
Because it's not cheap. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not cheap. Because for this fancy fun test I get to go through here in this end of this week, it still costs $300. But I imagine it would have cost the same with insurance. Insurance would have just paid a little bit extra on top of that.
Yeah, and money in the hand now is always more valuable than money in the hand later for most of these kind of cases, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. St. Mark's is very good at diagnostics. Okay, that's good to know. And urgent cares are a joke. Which urgent cares, I think,
they have their purpose.
They're designed for stitches and strep throat.
They're not designed to diagnose a autoimmune disease, So, but those all serve their purpose. Free clinics literally saved my life. Free clinics were amazing. They just couldn't diagnose my autoimmune disease, So we've got all these parts of the healthcare system that kind of work together, but not nearly well enough as they need to.
Yeah. And also, it's specialization. Huntsman is very good at cancer. I'm sure Huntsman wouldn't be as good at stitches.
More expensive, maybe. More.
Yeah.
You go to them and say, please fix my boo-boo. They're going to go, okay, $1,000 now. We're going to go
per stitch.
$20.
$1,000 per stitch, Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, too, is we're really fortunate here in Utah to have really good hospital networks, because I'm from rural Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we have an oncologist in the valley where my mother lives. When we used to have at least one. Yeah, it's that bad. My mom has to go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh. And so, and even within rural Utah here, it's very hard sometimes to get access to physicians.
Huntsman just announced another location that's going to make that a lot easier in the future. But
where are they going? Cedar City or?
They're going southern in Utah County, but the south end, I believe.
Okay.
So it'll cut the drive. It'll cut the drive probably in half for a lot of folks. But I was down in Helper at a Pride festival and talked to a gentleman that was driving, 3 hours each way for cancer treatment, and that's not sustainable when you're going in, 5 days a week for radiation or something. So,
No.
but I will plug the Cancer Society does offer help with lodging, transportation, any of that. So if you happen to have a listener that is like, man, I am facing this right now, I need help right now, cancer.org, fightcancer.org, both of those websites are, the American Cancer Society, and we have all kinds of resources for folks out there. So there is help, even though the healthcare system is a nightmare.
It is.
Do you remember if they have those support groups too?
They do. Yeah, they have virtual support groups. There's in-person things they can connect you with. If you have questions about getting genetic testing, something like that, we have all of those resources. We have a 24/7 hotline. If you're literally up in the middle of the night stressing about your biopsy coming up, give us a call. So we have those things available for folks.
Yeah, because when you're a caretaker, especially, it gets rough.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
My poor husband, like, the stuff he had to deal with as a caretaker is just horrific. And when I was 16, my mom had breast cancer. My dad worked like 16, 18 hours a day at the steel mill. He like literally slept there. And so he wasn't home very much. So it was me and my grandmother taking care of my mother. And it is exhausting being a caretaker. And it's really nice today with the access that like organizations like the American Cancer Society has, where you can talk to other caretakers and, not just bitch and moan, but also be like, what can I do? What can I be doing better to help them?
Resources are there? Yeah.
A little bit of advice and yeah.
Yeah, because one of those groups saved my life 150%, because after my double mastectomy, I got staph, right? And my mom was here. God bless her. She is a wonderful woman, but she's very much the type of like, it's not that bad. And my whole breast was red and swollen and it hurt. And she finally left and I couldn't lay down. And I actually took a photo of my chest and submitted it to one of these groups. And I said, hey, is this what it always looks like for the rest of you? And someone said, no, please go to the ER. And then that's when we found out I had staph. The infectious disease doctor said it was in my bloodstream.
So it had been there for a spell.
Right, yeah.
Cow.
And he said if you would have waited 2 more days for your appointment, like you were going to, he's like, you would have been dead.
Yeah.
And so it's like those support groups are huge, as in all levels of dealing with cancer, because it's nice to sometimes go, hey, has anyone else experienced this? What's your thoughts?
Totally.
Yeah, I hear
The mental support, but also the like, I can't call my doctor 24/7 necessarily. Can you all help me out with it?
No, it was like 2 in the morning. It was 2 in the morning, and I couldn't lay down. And so I was like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. When people have those invasive operations and procedures, staph infections are one of the lead killers from aftercare.
Yeah.
Scary.
It is brutal, and it's not a joke. Now I believe they said I'm more likely to get staph since I've had it. And the other really crazy thing I learned throughout all of this, staph is a naturally occurring thing on your skin.
on your skin, it's on the table you're touching right now, on that door behind you, on the staph. They call it staph infection because it staffs the world. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just and it is a major killer, and people.
It is, and it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
and
everywhere,
and it goes missed. So the fact that they helped you catch it—that's huge.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to have a really great group of individuals within that group that was very helpful.
Well, and I'm sure they helped you out on the patient side. Did your husband get involved in a support group for the caregiver side?
Very little. We were really not fortunate. There was a friend of ours they were about 2 years older than me. His wife was going through non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so there was kind of like that support group of people that we knew. Who
So
was
those
going
two
through
guys
similar.
bonded.
Yeah.
Okay.
To chat about it and be like, okay, well,
Good.
we know where it's at.
Good. Yeah, I know a family member of mine who, for the last 5 years, has been fighting one cancer, and then, like cancer does now, a different cancer. And he talks about how he's kind of built, I don't know about relationships, a good word, but camaraderie with the people that he goes in and they do chemo, and with all of them. And there seems to be, sadly, a bond that they built in there. I mean, sadly that they have to go in there. It's positive that they built this bond.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah,
it's
and you're,
interesting.
in there for hours, multiple times a week, sometimes every day. And it's like, of course, you're going to see all these people. My mom had, when I would go with her for treatments, radiation or chemo, all these people, she would just know everyone, you know what I mean? And there is this large sense of community when you're going through these. And even afterwards, there is a big community still.
Unfortunately, it hits
That's
almost
part
all of us eventually.
Cancer? You think
Yeah.
it hits all of us?
Well, it hits us in one way or another.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't realize until I moved to Utah, because like where I grew up, it's a big cancer belt. And like I've met people out here that like don't have cancer in their families, and like I almost look at them sideways because I'm like, how? Because my husband's family is that way. They don't have cancer, and it's like, how? How did you get this?
Yeah. Lucky gene pool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
environment, we've talked about, I think they mentioned you both are veterans, and veterans having increased rates of cancer because of what they're exposed to. We've got folks in New Mexico and downwinders, and it's environment and genetics. And yeah, when you grow up in that like steel belt area where you did, Katie, I think it's probably more prevalent than in other areas that are more privileged.
Our rivers and lakes used to be on fire because the steel mills just kept dumping their like leftover waste into our rivers. And like we couldn't eat from Lake Erie because it was so polluted. You could only have like 2 fish like a year when I was growing up.
Well, didn't the Ohio River like literally lit on fire it wasn't that long ago. It was like in the 70s.
It was like the 70s and 80s. Yeah. And it was on fire.
Yeah, it was in my lifetime. Lit on fire, rivers on fire. And that's when they kind of said, okay, hold on. We've done something here. We need to figure this out.
Yeah, because my my parents are really close to East Palestine.
Oh.
Or as we call it, East Palestine.
Palestine?
Or Stein. Yeah, so they're really close to that, and it's stuff like that where it's like the rivers, a lot of things downstream are dying. Animals and fish and everything else. And it's like, we're going to have a cancer pocket there within the next 10, 20 years. It's like the 9/11, veterans from that, where everyone, it's safe, it's fine. And then a couple years later, it's like, oh no, it wasn't. It's going to be like that again there.
Yeah, it seems like there's not enough care for your fellow humans amongst some of our there's some corporate greed around where they just don't seem to put that care in there,
or they just refuse to allow X amount of seats in the colleges so doctors can go to college and graduate. And geez, wouldn't it be nice to be able to find your internship before you grow old?
Well, that's after they've already made the cancer. I'm talking about prior. Like when they're dumping all that stuff in the Ohio River, they lit a river on fire. People.
Right.
Think about that. No, they didn't light it on fire. The river was so polluted. The river, the body of water, the body of moving water was so polluted.
Well, look at our lake.
It spontaneously combusted.
Yes.
By itself. Who knows? Okay, maybe some truck driver threw a cigarette out the window and it lit a river on fire.
Right.
That's insane.
Absolutely terrifying.
That,
That's the world we're living in right now. And you look at Utah, right? Bring it back home. We have these downwinders.
yeah.
And so many of them are dying. And it's crazy, the stuff. Like, I have a family member, his dad's a downwinder. He got testicular cancer at 22.
Jesus.
Now, when you say downwinder, is that from the nuclear tests?
Yes.
Yeah.
The New Mexico nuclear test.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, my dad
And all
worked
over
at
the
GE.
West. Yeah.
My dad worked at GE as the safety officer. Imagine that. But there was a river called the Mohawk River in Schenectady, New York. And it's so filled with PBCs back in the days that it was just rendered absolutely contaminated. And the only solution they could come up with is to wait. And eventually all the PCBs settle to the bottom and sediment covers them up. And that is how the previous generation dealt with pollution. And I can still remember him to this day explaining to me that dilution is the solution to pollution. And boy, things have changed now. And I hope they continue to.
It is in a circumstance like that, but it's not when you're committing thousands of people to a life of cancer who didn't do anything out of line in their life. They lived a normal life that you would have expected people to live. You go just set it right over there by the window, where they lived just a normal life. They ate, they got up, they didn't smoke. They didn't, take on chewing tobacco. They didn't, eat three-eyed fish off The Simpsons. They lived the same life as a person 20 miles north of them. But because of decisions made maybe by greed or short-sightedness or whatever, convenience maybe, decisions made by them passed it down that these people that just lived a normal life, now they get to have a complicated life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is an unimaginable truth about how we live,
It is. It is. And I'm hoping that, but I like what the Cancer Society's doing. I want to, I want everyone, when you're out and about on Sunday, to swing into the federal building, and have a piece of cake, and sign your name on that banner. Get your name on there. Take lots of video pictures, post it to Facebook. Give these ladies ammunition when they go to DC that they can lay out on the desk of our senators and our congressmen.
Yeah, it definitely
Yes,
helps when you have
thank you.
statistics. Yeah.
Yes, we need the bodies, we need the names, and like I said, kid friendly. It's family. Bring the family. Stop by on your way to the farmers market or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, ladies, to close up the show, can you pretend I am Mike Lee and Mitt Romney and tell me what would you say to me if you could directly?
Do you want to
All
go
right,
first,
Katie, you
Stacey?
gonna practice?
Nice.
I
Oh.
think you go first.
Oh, I see. I have seen in my very short life of 29 years on this 29 years on this planet that early detection saves lives. I sometimes think about my aunt, dying at 32, having a 6-year-old. I am 3 years away from her age. And I can't imagine leaving a 6-year-old behind. And I'd like to think bills like this could have saved her life, and other relatives that I had. And so I'd rather, when I have children and my sister has children, I don't want them to worry about turning 32. And I think that is huge. And I would ask deeply and humbly for the support of this bill so that people like me can live, one more year.
I love it. And I agree. I agree. I want to see parents make it to their kids' graduation at least.
Definitely.
And I think that's an important
birthday parties.
Yes.
We want more years to celebrate.
Yes. Yes. That is great. We've got a few more comments, and then we want you guys to give one last plug. Okay, the more people you have that don't pay anything for medical care, the more it puts on those who do pay. That is a problem that we are seeing in hospitals quite a bit. Now, I pay for my medical care up front. I, just pay it out of pocket, and I get medical care as it goes on. But they don't pay caretakers poop crap, and no, they don't. And when you're a husband caretaker, you get paid even less. Staff is in your nose as well.
Compensation is huge.
Yeah. So staff is in your nose as well. We learned that tonight. Thank you. That's not scary at all.
Fun fact.
Okay, so someone said they're talking about all the stuff you put in your food and the processed sugar and everything, which probably does. They do say that cancer
feeds on sugar.
Yeah, it grows faster if you have a high sugar diet. So I don't know if eating sugars makes cancer come on, but am I correct? They've tested it and cancer thrives better on a high sugar diet?
All I'm aware
I know
of,
we talk about. Go ahead, Katie. Sorry.
I know about like triple negative cancer where it feeds on hormones.
Hormones, huh?
Yeah, because like when my mom got cancer and my aunt, it feeds on hormones. So basically,
so
the biggest thing is stopping women having estrogen.
So it feeds on the estrogen, the progesterone, what little testosterone. So then they have to shut off the hormones, which then throws your whole body, your mental state, everything into that flux.
To give you an idea, so when I turn 35, I have to get my ovaries removed, okay, because of the cancer aspect, because of like my aunt. It will force me into medical menopause. My mom went through the same thing when she went through cancer treatments at 42. Chemo forced her into a medical menopause. And that is this because they just have to shut down hormones. And it's not like when you get to the end of the bridge, it's not like, okay, well, to relieve a little bit of your mental problems and your physical problems, we're going to give you this tiny little pill. It's like that tiny little pill will inflame my body and potentially could give me cancer. So you're kind of SOL.
So you can't get like a supplemental estrogen or progesterone or any of that, because that is something that feeds your cancer. So instead, what you just have to suffer.
Right. And the other thing, you have to avoid certain foods. Like my oncologist told me to avoid soy.
Ooh. Yeah.
Soy has naturally occurring estrogen.
Yeah, it's got a lot of estrus in it. Yeah.
And so you have to avoid, and so you have to be very mindful of the things that you're putting into your body.
Yeah, which is why I don't eat soy, because I'm a manly man and I'm not going to let that in my body.
I love it.
But no.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that is heavy. That is heavy. And you're so young. So young to have to fight this.
Yeah, and I haven't, at this point, when people are like, it's sugar, I appreciate that food of thought. For someone like me, everything is trying to kill me. It feels like some days in my body. So it's like, hell, if I'm having a latte right now.
Yeah.
I'm putting some white granulate sugar.
The aspartame is going to kill me.
God help me. I will take it at this point.
Yeah. Your level of give a shit is falling off.
Pretty much.
And I don't blame you. I really don't. I mean, I just want to lay this out. You meet people every once in a while who, in their teens and their 20s, and even some people, sadly, in their adolescent years, fight cancer at that age where they haven't even grown a whisker yet, or I mean, they're fighting cancer prior to them doing the beginning life goals, and for them to come through it. And I got to commend you. Every time I've talked to you, you're smiling.
Hey, I try to.
You succeed. You're the toughest person I know.
Thank you. My cousin, it helps too. My cousin / best friend, he had brain cancer, a very rare form of brain cancer at the age of 18. And he told his oncologist a couple months ago, because the oncologist was like, hey, Bobby, you're not doing this right. And he said to the oncologist, well, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
There you go.
And that's kind of become the mantra of us is we're not here for a long time, but we're going to be here for a good time.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
Making lemonade.
Yeah.
I am impressed. I'm impressed with your smile.
Thank you.
You're just a happy, cheery person who's been through so much. It's amazing.
Yep. Just glad to be here another day. I think about my aunt, and she didn't get that opportunity. So every day, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of good in this world, Katie, with the time that she's living. So
that's right.
It's incredible.
Thank you.
She's a fighter.
Yeah.
She's a fighter. Yeah. It's impressive. It's very impressive. Okay, ladies, one last time, give us your plug for if people want to donate, if people want to find out information, if they want to dig anything up. One more time, give that plug, the American Cancer, all that stuff.
Yes, come see us Sunday. You can find the information on our fundraiser we're doing right now and the event. We're on social media, ACSCAN Utah. So just the initials, ACSCAN Utah. We'll see you Sunday down at the Federal Building from 9 to 11. And find us. Our website is fightcancer.org. The Cancer Society, where you can get all the resources and things, is just cancer.org. Katie, what's your final pitch?
My final pitch is that please join us. Please donate. We have a lot of people who need to go to DC, and we want to make sure they get there, because there's a lot of stories like mine, and I want to make sure that everyone gets to tell their story.
Strong.
Yeah, very strong. If you can't donate, show up on Sunday. If you can't show up on Sunday, there's something you can do. Call your senator, call your congressman, get them on ball with this. Tell them these ladies are coming. Listen to them, do what they say. Or write a letter to your. There used to be this thing called paper people. You could write on it. It's cursive even if you want to go crazy. And mail it to them. Send them an email. You can find all that stuff. Thank you, ladies, for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate you. You guys are doing the Lord's work, hands down. And please reach out if there's anything else we can help you with, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yes, you ladies have a wonderful
Take care.
day.